you know, you got to be mindful in a certain comprehension, right? And what you're being mindful for is the existence. I got to kind of stay around the existence, perception, understanding for a minute, because people lose sight real fast and you become like Robin to Batman, you know what I'm saying? Or you get super, but you only grade as the value of what ushered in that understanding, right? So that's everything from all other precesses. What am I saying? So different times they had different people who rose in the ranks of spirituality for their particular time. They were in their time. They were able to perceive their time, how they needed to see it in order to do what was going on within that particular atmosphere, frequency, and function. Now, even if somebody write information on that, it's doing you a major disservice because it's only from the perception of that person who is writing that. Even if somebody's telling that person to write it, it's only from the person who is visualizing that understanding and their way of seeing it. That's something that don't change. That's one thing you can count on. The fact that people gonna always perceive it their way because it's from their perception. And then other people will agree with that. Whether that's out of fear they agree with it, or whether that's out of being a yes man, or even if it's accurate. You know what I'm saying? But these are only understandings based off how the person perceives what they're understanding. So even that accuracy can be based off that person's comfortability with the particular understanding or information. One thing has nothing to do with the next. Your perception is important. And how true you are to yourself is how you would deliberate through your own vessel of visualization, comprehension, and vocalization. So when I see people always constantly going back to the old things and trying to reinvigorate that, give that some nourishment, and come from that as a standpoint, it's kind of slightly disrespectful because it's like saying what they did wasn't enough. So you got to pick up the leftover with and you picked the knowledge and you kept going with that. Like, so that tells that energy that your time is relevant to their time and a certain understanding, which starts to bring frequencies towards you. So now those frequencies towards you, because you're requesting this, being a magnet, you know what I'm saying, an electromagnet, a high power magnet created by divine energy, it starts to pull in different energies from different times that are not relevant for right now. So not for nothing, if I'm sitting back all the way up to where I'm at now, and I'm getting all this information from Nagrisha, from Egypt, from Kemet, from Germany, from Mansa Musa to Haile Selassie, and all these different situations that got a story. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Muhammad Ali, Floyd Mayweather, even up until now. And you look at all these, Michael Jackson, you look at all these, Mike Tyson, you look at all these different values and greatness that comes. And what happens is, as it gets closer to you, you literally get to see what people put into being a form of value, what greatness means. Now, and I'm not talking about using that as the particular comprehension. I'm showing you to focus on what it takes to put in energy. That's it. Not a definition to what you're putting energy into. It's just, it shows you something that doesn't change through time. These are cardinal understandings. Once you can pick out cardinal understandings, you can see them through history. Things that don't change. The repetitions that formulated a value. It might have been spoken about small in the story, but it paid Like saying the farmer who was charged to work the fields for this king, and this town was revered for their great bread or their great whatever that came with that. And then the store person that sold it had a lot of people that came to them to buy it. See how that story went real fast, and out of that, the most important part was the person who was gifted to run the fields, because he grows all that. But you forget about that individual real fast because the person that sold it in the store had a long line of people coming to get it. So this is what history does. You know what I'm saying? This is how they perceive things, and they mess up the value of what the real points that strengthen the notion to walk towards in that comprehension at its direct value. Nobody's going to tell you that, but today you get more of that. And because the integrity base of communication hasn't been that more over than what you literally see, you don't care about the work in between. You just see the outcome because that's what made that individual great. All praises to the Most High. So you got to understand, divine has been allowing unconditional love since the beginning of existence. And that's allowed whatever energy to play out how it needed to play out, because those concepts of how life moves forward is based off what people like to say, the chaos. So chaos is not always violence. It's just chaos is how things come together. If you ever lived in a city, right? If you ever lived in a city and you rode the bus or you're in a cab, there's going to be, and if the cab is set up right, you know what I'm saying? Like if they have the information in there right. Most cab drivers who was on their shit, they did it right. Or the buses, you'll see it and be able to read it. But it'll be a sign in there. And that sign will say, what's the damn word? It'll say war zone. And you like, war zone? What they mean by war zone? It'll have a title on it, say war zone. And what that means is the collaboration of businesses. So you got taxis, you got school buses, you got regular transit buses, you got cars, you got stores, you got hospitals, you got clinics, you got, business offices, you got the courthouse, you got everything, clubs, everything in this one area. They call it a war zone because there's so many businesses interacting and have people interacting. It's conglomerated. It's a lot. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of motion and different mentality. So they call it a war zone. And because of that, they can direct information to you in a certain way by how they perceive this value. And not for nothing, like that's how it plays out. But you don't quiet your mind until you get a part of what naturally you're a part of. That's why nature is so important. I'm trying to stay on task because it's a lot of knowledge, yo. Like it's a lot of information, yo. Like, and to comprehend the spiritual comprehension from one point to the next, it's more like embodying. Even when you go and you learn about the old things, how does that affect your society today? And this is why it's important just to go directly to the divine without trying to come to the divine with a characteristic trait. That's like familiarity. The only thing you're familiar with is the fact that divine gave you life. That's it. You don't know nothing about divine. And that's how you humble yourself first before you come to the Almighty. When you come off the pretense of what people are talking about, you're using immature values. You know what I'm saying? It's like this. So that gives you an opportunity to speak. Who allows you to speak to what creates everything? That in itself is a gesture of access. You have to be allowed that. You don't just walk up to the divine and say, I'm going to have a conversation. That entitlement will get you rewrote. It'll get you undone. Because you're a creation that's supposed to be on your timeline, on your road. Keep in mind, that is a cardinal law. You're supposed to be on your timeline of existence, going through the existence, shining light at its farthest point. So therefore, at that point, recreation can happen. and more existence of light. So we're trying to fill up. The whole point is to fill up the space. So once the space is filled up with complete divine energy, and this is no spaces that's empty, this whole thing is divine energy, then it can become another aspect of divine energy in the core of what is in, and it'll start pushing through another level of ether that's wrapped around us that we can't travel to. This is expansion. Divine creation is life. It allows. And if nothing's in the space, then the space has to be occupied. That's a cardinal law. You know what I'm saying? So people always use the wrong understandings based off what they think they know. There is everything when you look now, there's something there, whether it's an amoeba, a grain of sand, a block of grass, it's in that space. Even if it's covered up, every space is literally occupied right now in our plane of existence. But we have to fill up the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? So they got everybody believing like planets and all this. No. It was breaking. They destroyed it because of the collective growth of how fast the divine energy was expanding at different times. But ain't nobody, people don't understand universal anything. Like, I don't need you to ask me what's happening if we're going to the store, right? Me and you, if we walk into the store, part ways, I ask you, yo, what we doing? You gonna look at me like I'm fucking stupid. Like, yo, you already know we going to the store. Why would you ask me that? You know what I'm saying? You're going to think something wrong. So when expansion started taking place, billions and gillions and gagillions of years ago, and things are flowing from a point of origin and recreating this value in mass quantities, who going to ask what's the purpose at that point? You got to be effing dumb. You got to be not attached to anything to not know what's going on. Every day the same thing, but it extends at a farther rate every single time. Don't be retarded. You know what I'm saying? But that comes with the energies that fell, that was stripped of the knowledge because they didn't do what they were supposed to do with the information when they had it. I ain't got nothing to do with that. You get in the car, you drive in the car, you go and get drunk, and you with people you're not paying attention, you crash into somebody else. That's your fault. A crash out dummy can be anybody who combats in any way, shape, and form. And combating has nothing to do with all the time when it comes with words. It doesn't all the time have to do with words. You can combat because you don't follow the direction which you go, that curvature. You decide to go this way. You decide to do it that way. You decide to, you know what I'm saying, you want to bend something. And then that puts you in that same dynamic. You're never going to do it better than the one that did it the first time because there's no other aspects from that. Keep in mind, that's the centerpiece, and everything under that is root values of it. Like it breaks off as an aspect of it. So there's no good way to do wrong. You're just going to fail because the first one never did anything other than that. So the existences give you options to do it in different ways, but they all fail. So you get that momentary value like, oh, we can get away with something. There's not a such thing as that. That's just allowing your mind to rest your body so you can be in a position to get retribution from your actions. Sometimes when you're moving, you're moving so much, you're moving past energies. All that going to become knowledge for you later. It's going to be like, damn, you know, I remember when this was happening, I saw this at the same time and I didn't even pay attention to it. That's how it be. You think, oh, I'm getting away with it. No, you're not. You're being prepared you're being prepared to deal with that consciously. Like you're on the side of running through it. So the next energy will be you got to sit in it. You know what I'm saying? So if you sit in the divine and you learn from the divine, the next energy is receiving from the learning. That's what prophet does. You become a prophet by your actions. So you receive knowledge from the divine because of the work you put in. Same thing. If you on earth, and you put in a level of negativity and you think, oh, I'm getting away with X, Y, Z. No, you got to get into that side where that contrasts to that. So now you got to sit in that and be like, dang, you know what? I wasn't even thinking about none of this. Damn, I did all this. Like, that comes with doing it. That's how you know a real people be, you know, when we was younger, right? Like, and I'm getting my early 20s or whatever. It was a difference in between people who really did shit and people who talk shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you had people who was the same niggas they was talking about on the rap songs and in the movies and stuff. And you be around people like that for real. So it's a different conversation. It's a different way you carry yourself when you're around people who really make moves. You know what I'm saying? So other people, they'll come and they be loud and brag, yo, I know this, I did that, da-da-da-da, I'm this, I'm that. You be like, that motherfucker ain't never did nothing because he talking too much. Like, you just know you're not going to express it like that when you know. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll want to tell somebody, but then you'll see that they not ready for that type of information. And it's like that. It's like that. Like, you could tell when people don't know about how they carry it. You know what I'm saying? And when you in a different energy and it's familiar to you, used to that particular way of perceiving things, right? You used to it. It's a, yeah, all right, I got you, I dig it. You know what I'm saying? You might be coming through on some other shit and people think that you not really whatever, their perception is off. But then the fact of the value is who you are, and between that communication is what really describes that person. See, so it's like out of sight, out of mind. I don't want people to know who you is, but if I know who you is, and you came through just to give me a message, and you said something humbly that I comprehended, but nobody else did, but you looked away, and people was like, oh, that ain't nobody, but you could have been the man I just asked to hold $100 grand from me in the safe. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you come through like, yo, everything good, and I'm like, yeah, all right, that's what's up. Fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's like, oh, you funny. We all got jokes. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then people like, oh, that ain't nobody. It must be somebody who wanted something. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you got to move in a different way. That's what comprehension is like. You know what I'm saying? That's what comprehension be like. And for the most part, real people don't have that. Like, people who can't fight, they talk about fighting. You know what I'm saying? Like, they be like, yo, I'll do this, I'll do that. I learned a long time ago, you could be fighting and talking so much, you don't know, you just using energy while you talking. Like, your mouth running, you throwing out energy the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Somebody hit you, bang. You ain't got nothing to get. You be like, ugh. You know what I'm saying? Be like, what happened to all that? Because you was running your mouth the whole time. And that one punch took the rest of that energy up out of you real quick. You know what I'm saying? So it was like that. You learn these lessons growing up through life. That's how you know if you really paying attention. You know? And then if you wise, you know how to act on the knowledge before, like if you get close to this, you know how to act towards the circumstance because you comprehended what was happening. Other people will say, oh, you should have did this, you should have did that to show you can handle it. Handling it is not always the smart thing. Not being involved in it is something different. Are you smart enough to not even be a part of something that's coming for you? You know what I'm saying? Like, how can you, that's a mentality. Back in the day, I remember it used to be like the hustlers who never got caught, who never went to jail. You never heard about them, but they was the real kings on the streets. You know what I'm saying? But the ones who got caught, went to jail, snitched and all that on people, those dudes wanted to be the image of that. You know what I'm saying? That was something that we knew on the streets. So it faded away if you didn't go to prison. Like, if you didn't go to prison and you was smooth enough not to get in trouble because they wasn't helping nobody get no money, then you did better than that. But then it became a fad to go to jail. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we watched that happen. We watched people start glorifying going to prison. We like, yo, what is that? Nobody wants to be away from, you know what I'm saying? You're supposed to be quiet. You know what I'm saying? So that was a reality because of the times. You got to keep in mind, the country ain't always been unfavorable with all people. You know what I'm saying? And it still ain't favorable. But what I'm saying is people had to do what they had to do in certain situations just to maintain some form of life. You know what I mean? And to continue that and say, nah, I'm not going to be victim to, something that puts me into situations where I can't thrive in. You know what I'm saying? So the knowledge of old can't serve this paradigm. The spiritual it can help some things because some things are based from the old, like thievery, lies, manipulation, holding that. A lot of those things that energy comes from the old. They use old negative tactics to try to stop things in the future. But they don't be that strong once you comprehend who you are. So you're powered by them, but not in the way of support. You're powered by them by being in the role of walking the class. They had to walk the class too, so you get eons of protection from doing the job. Keep in mind, you got divine in front of you that's making sure you in the class, and you got everybody that actually did the right work back in the day that nobody talks about, that rose, and they completed their class, and they're divine beings in their own right. So it's like you're in between that. You know what I'm saying? You're in between that. So you'll get a lot of support when doing the right thing. It's just the past spiritualists that, comprehended that as an understanding in their time, they know the work that you got to do because they can see the existence that we living in right now. This is why we have people who was like, they speak in 20, 30 years in the future and stuff like that, because the energy is all connected. It doesn't go nowhere. And if you still enough, if you ain't got all these things going on in your life, you can see to the future. That's not like an amazing thing. It's just that your mind is like in everything else. So since your mind is involved in everything else in the world, you can't see shit. You don't got divine connected to you. So just like I'll ask divine to see through my eyes because they're imperfect, I can also ask divine to give me clarity so I can see how I'm supposed to on the path that I would. Come on, man, to make this shit make sense. Like, people they don't want to strive. And it's going to seem complicated when you're wrapped up in everything that's opposite from your past. I said your past, your path that's created for you. So when you wrapped up in everything that's not on your path, it's going to seem like, I don't know what to do or how to get there. That's hard. That's because you holding on that's all the thoughts in your mind. Once you learn meditation and you can start separating from stuff, you can literally like fight yourself. Like, I'm not about to do this. 22. I ain't about to do this. I ain't about to, you know what I'm saying? Like, once you get to that point, I'm talking about when you feel it inside yourself and you know that shit be wrong. You can't even stand up to you. You can't stand up to you. How you expect divine to represent for you? Some people's flesh might have more senses in them to make them want to do wrong things. That's because that might be connected to your past. People in your family might have been on that. They might be even close to you. That makes it even harder for you not to want to do those things. But that's how you identify what a family curse is. That's how you identify that. Like, why I want to do this? And then you look at where you come from and you can notice that came from that. And once you notice that it came from that, you're like, all right, so this is getting me in trouble. I need to do different. I need to change this. That's not a conversation for everybody. That's something that you do. If you want to, divine don't make mistakes, people do. And if you ain't going to pay attention to what's being shown to you, how you expect to make any change? How you expect to walk in a divine manner? That's not going to come with what you are. You just was brought here with free will. You was brought here to make a choice. The choice to deliberate in between if your family was going to continue being in that same dynamic via your existence or what you create's existence. So whatever you create, you know what I'm saying, they're going to be like, yeah, I had to go through the same things as them. You see, they even tell you that your sins of the parents are the sins on the children. That's if you want to take it there. If you want to live like that, that's on you. You want to stay stuck and you don't want to think and come out of it. Yeah, divine, like, I can show you a better way, though. I can make you better in a whole nother understanding. That's just up to you to want to take this information, though. So I ain't going to hold you. NAGA the WISE.